bar was buzzing with noise that Friday night, the kind of noise that blurred together into a constant hum. Glasses clinked, laughter echoed, and the jukebox in the corner groaned out an old country rock track. Cigarette smoke hung in the air, swirling up toward the slowly turning ceiling fans. Pool cues cracked against billiard balls, and the smell of spilled beer lingered on the floorboards. It was chaos, but to the regulars, it was home. Through all of this, weaving silently between tables, was Sarah Miller. She carried a tray on one arm and a notepad in her other hand, her face calm, her movements efficient. She had worked in this bar long enough to know how to dodge a drunk elbow, how to slip between pool tables without spilling a drop, how to force a smile when the tips were low. But that night, her smile was faint, her eyes heavy, like someone carrying more than just trays of drinks. The front doors slammed open with a bang. Heads turned immediately as the sound of boots and laughter poured into the bar. A group of bikers, all in leather vests and denim, filled the doorway. Their presence shifted the room's energy like a storm cloud rolling over a sunny day. At their center was Jake Turner, tall, broad, covered in tattoos that snaked up his arms and disappeared under his vest. His hair was tied back, his jawline sharp, his eyes gleaming with arrogance. People moved aside as Jake and his crew claimed a large table in the middle of the bar. The laughter died down, even the jukebox seemed quieter. Some men kept playing pool but stole glances nervously. A woman at the counter leaned closer to her friend, whispering, "Not them again." Sarah felt her stomach tighten. She knew the type. Loud, dangerous, looking for trouble, but she also knew it was her job. So she took a deep breath, straightened her shirt, and walked toward their table. "Evening," she said softly, notepad ready. "What can I get you?" Jake leaned back in his chair, his smirk spreading. His men chuckled under their breath, already sensing his mood. "Well, sweetheart," Jake drawled, his voice deep and rough, "why don't you surprise us? I'm sure you've got something worth showing." A couple of his crew laughed. Sarah ignored the jab, writing down beers, wings, and shots, and left quickly. Her hands trembled slightly as she carried their order back, but she hid it well. When she returned with their drinks, she set them down carefully, her eyes avoiding Jake's. That's when it happened. Jake reached out without warning, grabbing Sarah by the collar of her shirt. Gasps echoed through the bar as he yanked her forward, forcing her to stumble close to him. His hand was rough, strong, and in one swift motion, he tore at the fabric of her shirt. The sound of ripping cloth cut through the silence like a blade. The entire bar froze. Sarah gasped, clutching at the fabric, her eyes wide with shock. Behind her, a man in a denim jacket stiffened, his face frozen in disbelief. A woman near the back put her hand to her mouth, horrified. The bartender stopped mid-pour, the bottle of whiskey trembling in his grip. Jake smirked, expecting laughter, expecting to humiliate her, but what he revealed wasn't weakness. The torn shirt fell open, and across Sarah's chest and shoulder, jagged scars gleamed under the dim lights. They weren't faint. They weren't hidden. They were raw, twisted reminders of fire. Next to them, bold black ink formed a tattoo, an anchor wrapped in roses, a symbol of strength etched permanently into her skin. Jake's smirk vanished, his hand loosened, the entire bar stared. Sarah's breathing came fast, but her voice, when it finally broke through the silence, was steady. "I got these scars," she said, clutching her shirt, "when I was 15 years old. I ran into a burning house to pull my little sister out. I almost didn't make it, but I lived, she lived." Her eyes locked on Jake, sharp as glass. "So go ahead, tear my clothes, point, laugh, you'll never shame me for surviving." The room was so silent you could hear the hum of the ceiling fan. Jake, the man who never shut up, had nothing to say. His hand dropped to his side. His eyes flicked to his crew, but even they looked uneasy now, shifting in their seats. From the far end of the bar, a chair scraped against the floor. Michael Reed, a quiet mechanic with grease still under his nails, stood up. He wasn't big, not like Jake. He wasn't loud either, but his presence carried weight. He stepped forward, placing himself between Sarah and Jake. "That's enough," Michael said, his voice firm. Jake narrowed his eyes. "And who the hell are you?" "Someone who knows what real strength looks like," Michael replied, glancing back at Sarah. "And it's not you, Jake. Ripping someone's shirt doesn't make you powerful. Living through hell, carrying scars, and still showing up to face the world, that's power." Sarah's hands trembled, but her chin lifted higher. She pulled Michael's jacket around her shoulders when he slipped it off and placed it gently over her. The gesture drew a few quiet nods from the crowd. A woman near the jukebox whispered, "She's braver than all of them." The bartender finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "Jake, you and your boys should leave." For the first time, Jake looked small. His usual fire was gone. His men avoided his gaze, their earlier smirks replaced with shame. Without another word, Jake turned on his heel, motioning for his crew to follow. Boots stomped across the floor, and the door slammed shut behind them. The silence lingered. Then slowly people began to clap. It wasn't loud, not at first, just a few hands, a few nods. But it grew, soft applause filling the room, not for the fight, but for the courage they had just witnessed. Sarah wiped a tear from her cheek. She looked at Michael, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you." He shook his head. "Don't thank me, you did that. You froze him in his tracks. You froze this whole bar." Sarah stood taller, her scars no longer something to hide but something to own. That night she walked out with her head high, wrapped in Michael's jacket, not as a victim but as a survivor. And the story of that night spread far beyond those smoky walls, about a waitress who silenced a biker gang, about scars that told a story of fire, and about the kind of strength no man could ever tear away.